G'day everyone, my name is Sam Tabit. Welcome to Bamboo Wealth. Financial planning does matter. Today we're going to discuss a very important subject, estate planning. Now, estate planning is simply the transfer of your assets and control of your assets to the next generation. We have a number of generations. The most current generations, Y, Z, and you've got the baby boomers generation, which currently we're in the midst of the greatest welfare transfer of the last 100 years from the baby boomers to the X and Y generation. So it's very important to understand how assets are transferred. Now, just some facts about estate planning. Approximately, according to some numbers, 60% of Australians do not have a will. The other important thing to consider also that if you die without a will, this could cause a lot of distress and time delay, and obviously cost. Now, 1 in 3 Australians also go through a divorce, and the stats are 1 in 2 Australians go through a second divorce. So you need to consider how your assets are transferred. Now, in terms of death taxes, in Australia we don't have death taxes, but as an example, in America, if you have more than $22 million, they do have death taxes, and this makes up about 55% of taxes that's applied to $22 million. So it's quite a large amount. Now, in Australia, we do have a number of other taxes that relate to when you pass away. It could relate to things such as insurance, could be superannuation taxes that's paid to different beneficiaries. So there are things to actually look at. The other important factor is Australia's got the second highest number of blended families per capita in the world. So there can be complications in families, and so you need to consider essentially how to transfer and also protect your assets. Now, a couple of myths I wanted to sort of discuss. There are many, but some of the ones that I come across is I am too young, I don't need a will. That's not necessarily the case. Young people today do have insurance, and insurance does form part of your wealth or asset transfer. Another one is that estate planning is only for the rich. That again is a misconception. Rich people do obviously wish to protect their assets, but you don't have to be rich these days. When you look at the average value of a house or average superannuation balance, there are large amounts of assets that needs to actually be considered. And also Forbes magazine highlighted that approximately 7 out of 10 of their richest 400, the Forbes statistics show that most of those are first generation billionaires, so you don't have to necessarily have inherited your assets from previous generation. The other one is that my superannuation will automatically go to my super, which is not necessarily true. And the other one that we also quite hear quite often is that all my assets will actually pass to my will or to my estate. That's also not quite true. There are certain structures that may mean that your assets will pass on to a third party that you did not intend to, or essentially your assets might be challenged. Now, what does a financial planner do in relation to estate planning? Now, when you look at financial planners' role, financial planners provide comprehensive financial advice. However, estate planning is part of that consideration and generally is sort of tucked away right at the end of a financial plan. But when we talk to our clients, the first and foremost thing we consider is essentially estate planning. What's going to happen to your assets when you pass away? The other thing to consider too, under new legislation through FASIA, which is a new regulator for financial planners, you do need to ask a number of questions about your assets and what will happen to those assets when the clients pass away. So bear that in mind when you get advice from financial planners. Now, what are the benefits of receiving financial planning advice or estate planning advice, or having estate plan done for you? The benefits here is that you exactly know where your assets are going to. You also know that which beneficiaries are going to receive what amount of assets, or it could be income or lump sums. And you also know exactly that your beneficiaries will be looked after. Now, if you have children, the important thing to focus on is that, are your children going to be looked after? Particularly if you have a child who has some form of disability or has special needs. So it could be a child who cannot manage their own money, that you want to make sure that they receive the adequate income stream without having to be taken advantage of. Other things to look at is creditors. How can I protect myself against creditors in the event of business failure? Also, any sentimental value assets that I want to pass to specific beneficiaries. Another important consideration too is what will happen to my, who will be managing my estate or my will. you need to make sure that you choose someone that you trust and will actually do a good job and follow your instructions. So there are a myriad of considerations to look at. So it could include taxes, trying to minimize the amount of tax that you have to pay on your transfer of assets, as we mentioned earlier, and also how your assets are held individually or jointly. The other big consideration, remembering superannuation is the second largest asset people hold. Therefore, what will happen to my super upon my death? Who will get the funds? How much tax will they actually pay? So as you can see, there are a lot of decisions that need to be made and a lot of considerations that you need to think of. So the role of a financial planner is to identify your goals, understand what issues can be in front of them in the future, what kind of potholes that you can essentially avoid, and to make sure you have a peace of mind that the correct beneficiaries gets the correct amount of money, and there's less challenges to your estate, which would mean that more money will go to your beneficiaries. So financial planners' role is to identify and highlight these areas. But don't forget, financial planners are not legal practitioners. They do work with accountants. They also work with lawyers. So if there needs to be a change or a written up of a documentation that relates to a particular needs, financial planners will refer you on to those specialists. But financial planners play a pivotal role in identifying your goals and also coming up with strategies and solutions to make sure your objectives and goals and your beneficiaries are looked after. So this is just a bit of a snapshot, an overview of the reasons why you should be seeking financial planning advice in relation to estate planning. And also don't forget, we are living in a time where Australians have a lot of aging population. So your parents and your families may have a loved one that will be going into aged care, and that's another substantial consideration for you and your family. So this is what we'll be covering for today. If you have any questions about estate planning, please contact us at Bamboo Wealth, 1300 855 014. We'll also go onto our website and also our YouTube and LinkedIn channels. We look forward to presenting to you a bit more details. In the future, we'll be looking specifically at the four main areas financial planners look at when considering estate planning, namely your wills, also trust, could be a family trust, powers of attorney, and also structures, which is a very important thing to consider. That's what we'll be covering for today. Thank you very much for being with us. Please don't forget to press subscribe and also like us on LinkedIn, and we look forward to presenting to you more important information about estate planning. Thank you for being with us today.